Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the ESS Pathfinder, her eyes fixed on the massive structure that filled the main viewport. After 15 years of deep space exploration, she had never seen anything like it. The object stretched across space like a metal web, its surface adorned with geometric patterns that pulsed with a faint blue light. "Analysis complete, Captain," Lieutenant Raj Patel announced from his station. "The structure appears to be approximately 300 kilometers in diameter. Material composition is unusual. Our sensors can't make sense of it." Sarah nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. The Pathfinder had been tasked with mapping the unexplored regions beyond the Carina Nebula, but this discovery would change everything. Humanity had encountered alien artifacts before, but nothing of this scale or complexity. "Dr. Martinez, what's your assessment?" Sarah called to their xenorchaeologist, who hadn't moved from her console since they'd first detected the structure 3 hours ago. "It's alive, Captain," Elena Martinez replied, her voice trembling with excitement. "Not biologically, but the energy patterns, they're self-organizing. This isn't just a structure, it's a machine, and it's still running after God knows how long." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had achieved faster than light travel just 50 years ago, and they thought themselves advanced. But this was something else entirely. "Captain, we're detecting energy spikes." Raj's voice cut through the silence. "Something's happening." The geometric patterns on the structure's surface began to pulse more rapidly, the blue light intensifying. Sarah felt the hair on the back of her neck stand up as an invisible wave of energy washed over the ship. "All stations, report," she commanded, gripping her chair as the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated momentarily. Before anyone could respond, a new voice filled the bridge, not through the ship's communication system, but seemingly directly in their minds. "QVALIFAKJONS DGTCTED. Initiating first QONTAKT PROTOSEOS." The crew exchanged startled looks. Sarah opened her mouth to speak, but the voice continued. "Your species HAS FCHAEVDQUANTUM computational capability. You may proceed with testing." "Testing?" Sarah questioned aloud. "We're not here for any test. We're explorers from Earth, representatives of the human species cooperative. ARRELEVANT. All species must be tested. Failure to COMBLI will result and QARNTI." The structure's light patterns shifted to a deep purple, and suddenly dozens of smaller objects began detaching from its surface. They looked like metallic seeds, each about the size of a shuttlecraft. "Multiple objects on an intercept course," Raj reported. "They're surrounding us." Sarah's tactical training kicked in. "Shields up. Lieutenant Park, plot us an escape vector. We need to escape ATMPTs will be inside or TESTFAILUR. Proceed with testing or face extinction." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. They had stumbled onto something far beyond their understanding, and now they were being forced into some kind of cosmic examination. But there was something about the way the voice had mentioned quantum computational capability. "Dr. Martinez, you said the structure is like a machine. Could it be a computer?" Delina's fingers flew across her console. "Yes, the energy patterns, their quantum oscillations, this entire structure might be some kind of massive quantum computer." Sarah smiled grimly. If this was a test involving quantum computing, then perhaps humanity had an unexpected advantage. Few knew it, but Earth's quantum computing breakthrough hadn't come from traditional research. It had come from studying the neural patterns of human dreamers. "Open a channel to the structure," Sarah ordered, "and get me a direct link to the ship's quantum core." Communication unnecessary. Testing while commence. One of the seed-like objects moved closer, its surface beginning to glow. "Wait," Sarah called out. "Before you test us, we wish to demonstrate something." She nodded to her communications officer, who activated the quantum link. Sarah closed her eyes and thought about her dreams, of flying through space, of discovering new worlds, of humanity's endless quest to understand the universe. She pushed these thoughts through the quantum link, not as data, but as the pure, abstract patterns of human consciousness. The seed-like objects froze in space. The structure's light patterns shifted rapidly through various colors. Anomalydetected, unknown, QUANTUM PTERN, reorganized, explain. That, Sarah said with a slight smile, is how humans dream. Our minds naturally generate quantum patterns when we sleep. It's how we learn to build our computers. We didn't just achieve quantum computational capability. We were born with it. There was a long pause. The seed-like objects began to retreat. Unexpected development. Testing protocols in HFY NTFOR species with natural quantum processing. New protocols required. The structure's light patterns shifted to a brilliant gold. Alternative PROPOSAL. Knowledge EXE. Ange. Acceptable. Sarah looked around at her crew, seeing the same mix of fear, excitement, and determination on their faces that she felt in her heart. This could be humanity's greatest opportunity, or its greatest threat, but they hadn't come all this way to play it safe. "We accept," she replied, "but we have conditions." The discovery of the quantum megastructure would change humanity forever, but as Sarah prepared to negotiate with this ancient machine intelligence, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity had just proven it could hold its own among the stars, not through superior technology or military might, but through the unique gift that had been within them all along, the ability to dream. The knowledge exchange with the ancient quantum structure had been underway for 3 days when the first warning came. Sarah sat in her quarters, her mind still reeling from the vast amounts of information they'd received about quantum physics, space-time manipulation, and technologies beyond human comprehension. A sharp knock interrupted her thoughts. "Enter." Dr. Martinez rushed in, her dark eyes wide with concern. "Captain, you need to see this." She handed over a data pad containing her latest analysis. The structure isn't just a computer or a testing facility. It's a warning beacon. Sarah scanned the decoded data, her expression growing grave. "Are you certain about this translation?" "Absolutely. The beings who built this, they called themselves the precursors. They weren't testing species for advancement. They were screening for threats." Before Sarah could respond, the ship's alert system blared to life. "Captain, to the bridge." Lieutenant Patel's voice carried an edge of panic she'd never heard before. Sarah and Elena rushed to the bridge, where a horrifying sight awaited them. The structure's golden glow had turned blood red, and its quantum patterns were shifting chaotically. Alert. Quarantine Porotocols Variached. CVRITUALEVL. Omij. What's happening? Sarah demanded, taking her position at the command chair. "The harbingers approach. They detected. Multiple hyperspace windows tore open around them, disgorging ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Each vessel was easily twice the size of the Pathfinder. 7 vessels, unknown configuration, Raj reported. Their energy readings are off the charts. These RETE reason favor our existence. The structure's voice echoed in their minds. The harbingers seek to consume alquantum capable species. They fed on consciousness ATCLF. Hostile ships charging weapons. Lieutenant Park called out. "Evasive maneuvers." Sarah ordered. "Get us out of here." The Pathfinder lurched as it avoided the first volley of energy weapons. The shots passed through where they had been and struck the quantum structure, which absorbed the impacts without damage. We can noted pyramid them to acquire your QUANTUMDREMing capability. It unyielding make them unistopable. They're deploying some kind of field, Elena reported, studying her readings. It's dampening our quantum systems. Sarah felt it, a heaviness in her mind, like trying to think through fog. Around her, the crew showed signs of growing drowsiness. The Harbingers were attacking not just their ship, but their consciousness itself. Emergency purotocolis initiated. Excepiting QUANTUM QORE Turan and Stephier. The structure pulsed, and suddenly Sarah felt a vast presence in her mind. Knowledge flooded in, not just data, but understanding. The precursors hadn't just built a warning beacon, they'd created a weapon. The structure contained the combined consciousness of an entire civilization, preserved as a final defense against the Harbingers. They're coming around for another pass, Raj warned, fighting to stay awake. Sarah's fingers flew across her console, implementing modifications to the ship's quantum core that she suddenly knew how to make. Dr. Martinez, reroute all power to the neural interface system. Lieutenant Patel, prepare to drop shields on my mark. Drop shields. Elena questioned. That's suicide. Trust me, Sarah replied, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. Everyone, close your eyes. Dream with me. The crew hesitated for just a moment before complying. As their eyes closed, Sarah activated the modified quantum core. The ship's neural interface system, originally designed to facilitate human-computer interaction, transformed into something much more powerful. The dreams of the entire crew merged into one, a quantum pattern so complex and chaotic that it defied mechanical analysis. The Harbinger ships faltered, their consciousness-dampening field disrupted by the unpredictable nature of human dreams. Now, take it all. The quantum structure began to collapse in on itself, its vast knowledge and power streaming into the Pathfinder's modified systems. The Precursor's final gift wasn't just their technology. It was their understanding of how to fight the Harbingers. Shields down, Sarah commanded. Full power to the quantum core. As the Harbinger ships opened fire, their energy weapons struck the Pathfinder's unprotected hull. But instead of destroying the ship, the energy was absorbed, channeled through the crew's shared dream space, and transformed. The Pathfinder began to glow with the same golden light that had once emanated from the quantum structure. In that moment, Sarah understood what they had become, not just receivers of the Precursor's warning, but inheritors of their legacy. Take us into hyperspace, she ordered, her voice steady despite the enormous pressure in her mind. We need to warn Earth. The real test isn't over, it's just beginning. As the Pathfinder jumped to safety, the quantum structure imploded, taking 2 of the Harbinger ships with it. The rest turned to pursue, but Sarah knew they had a chance now. Humanity's gift for dreaming had just become their greatest weapon in a war they never knew was coming. The price of knowledge had been high, the loss of the quantum structure and the burden of the Precursor's memories. But as Sarah looked at her crew, she saw in their eyes the same determination that had driven humanity to the stars in the first place. They would not face this threat alone. They would face it together, in the dream space where humanity's true power had always resided. The emergency council chamber of Earth's Central Command was silent as Sarah finished her report. The holographic displays showed the data they'd recovered from the quantum structure, along with readings from their encounter with the Harbinger vessels. 2 weeks had passed since their narrow escape, and the Pathfinder's crew still struggled with the vast knowledge burning in their minds. Admiral Chen, no relation to Sarah, was the first to speak. Let me be clear, Captain. You're saying that an ancient alien civilization chose to download their entire collective consciousness into your crew because our species can dream. Not just dream, Admiral, Elena Martinez interjected, stepping forward. Dark circles under her eyes testify to her sleepless nights studying the precursor data. Human consciousness naturally generates quantum patterns during REM sleep. We're organic quantum computers. The harbingers can't predict or corrupt our patterns because they're fundamentally chaos-based. And these harbingers, another council member spoke up, they consume consciousness itself. Sarah nodded grimly. They're not just ships or beings. They're like quantum vampires. They've consumed entire civilizations, absorbing their knowledge and consciousness. The precursors created the testing stations to identify species with quantum capabilities and warned them before it was too late. Too late for them, perhaps, Admiral Chen mused, but not for us. What's the status of implementing the precursor knowledge? Lieutenant Patel, who had been quietly working at a console, projected a new image. We've already begun modifying Earth's quantum defense network. The precursor consciousness carried detailed plans for something they called the Dreamforge Protocol. The display showed a web of interconnected nodes spreading across Earth's orbital space. Each node pulsed with neural patterns, the combined dreams of millions of sleeping humans. The harbingers will come, Sarah said, her voice carrying the weight of precursor memories. They've never encountered a species with our capabilities. We're not just a target. We're a threat to their entire existence. A warning klaxon shattered the tense atmosphere. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected. A technician called out. Harbinger configurations, approaching from 3 vectors. Admiral Chen straightened. How long until they reach Earth? 72 hours, sir. Not long enough to complete the Dreamforge network, Patel said, checking his calculations. Sarah stepped forward, her mind racing with possibilities drawn from both human intuition and precursor knowledge. Maybe we don't need to complete it. Lieutenant, show me the current coverage map. The display shifted, showing the partially constructed network. About 30% of the planned nodes were operational, concentrated around Earth's major population centers. There, Sarah pointed to a particular pattern in the network. The precursors built their systems on perfect geometric patterns. That was their weakness. The harbingers learned to predict and counter them. But look at our network. Elena's eyes widened as she understood. It's irregular, organic, like human dream patterns themselves. Exactly. We don't need to complete their design. We need to embrace our chaos. Sarah turned to Admiral Chen. Sir, I need authorization to link the network directly to Earth's sleeping population. All of them. The Admiral's face paled. You're talking about turning the dreams of billions of people into a weapon. The risks are nothing compared to what happens if the harbingers reach Earth. Sarah finished. They won't just kill us, sir. They'll consume us. Every consciousness, every dream, every hope and fear and memory, absorbed and corrupted. For a long moment, the chamber was silent except for the steady pulse of warning signals. Finally, Admiral Chen nodded. Do it. But Captain, wake the planet. Everyone needs to know what their dreams are about to become part of. The next 72 hours were a blur of activity. As news of the approaching threat spread, humanity faced its greatest test of unity. The choice was simple: sleep, dream, and fight, or stay awake and be defenseless. Sarah stood on the command deck of the newly commissioned Earth Defense Station, watching as the dream pattern displays shifted and swirled. Billions of humans had chosen to sleep, to offer their dreams to the defense of their species. The patterns they created were unlike anything the precursors had ever conceived. Beautiful, chaotic, unpredictable. First wave of harbinger ships entering the outer defense perimeter, Patel reported. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the combined consciousness of her crew linking with the vast dreamscape below. Remember, everyone, don't try to control your dreams. Let them flow naturally. The chaos is our strength. The first harbinger ships appeared on their screens, dark, angular shapes that seemed to devour the starlight around them. Their consciousness-dampening fields reached out, seeking to smother the human quantum patterns. But this time, humanity was ready. As the fields touched the dream network, they encountered not the rigid, predictable patterns of precursor technology, but the wild, ever-changing landscape of human dreams. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity's greatest weapon would be the very thing that made them human, their ability to dream the impossible. The Harbinger fleet emerged from hyperspace like a tear in reality, their dark hulls absorbing the light of Earth's sun. 47 ships, each massive enough to cast shadows on the moon, arranged themselves in a perfect geometric pattern, a killing formation that had ended civilizations. But something was wrong. Their consciousness-dampening fields, which should have smothered any quantum activity in the system, were instead creating ripples in an ocean they couldn't see. Sarah felt it through the neural link. Billions of human minds dreaming together, their patterns merging and separating in endless permutations. The precursor knowledge within her provided context. No species had ever attempted anything like this. They're trying to adapt their fields. Alina reported from her station, her consciousness both present on the command deck and merged with the dream network. The patterns, they keep changing too fast. A child in Singapore dreamed of flying dragons. The quantum ripple merged with a farmer's dream of rain in Kansas, twisted through a Paris artist's nightmare of melting clocks, and emerged as something that made the nearest Harbinger ship recoil in confusion. They're launching their primary weapon. Patel's warning cut through the dreamscape. Sarah watched as the Harbinger fleet released clouds of quantum reactive particles, the same weapon they'd used to consume the precursor's consciousness. The clouds approached Earth's orbit like living darkness. All sleepers, level 2 immersion, Sarah commanded through the neural link. Don't fight the fear. Dream it. Across the planet, billions of sleeping minds responded instinctively. Fear entered their dreams. Not panic, but the ancient human fear of darkness, of the unknown. That fear manifested in millions of different ways, through millions of different dreams. The particle cloud hit the dream network and shattered. It couldn't find purchase in the chaotic patterns of human nightmare. They're moving closer, Admiral Chen observed from his position in the Lunar Command Center, preparing to launch ground forces. Sarah smiled grimly. They still think this is a normal battlefield. Show them, dreamers. Show them what humanity's imagination can do. The dream network shifted. Now the patterns weren't just defensive. They'd reached out. A quantum surge from Sydney merged with dreams from Cairo, London, and Buenos Aires. The combined patterns struck the nearest Harbinger ship like lightning. The massive vessel shuddered as human dream consciousness invaded its quantum systems. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Harbingers experienced something they couldn't consume or control: human creativity. They're breaking formation. Alina called out. The perfect geometric pattern of the Harbinger fleet began to dissolve as ship after ship encountered the unpredictable assault of human dreams. But the Harbingers weren't finished. Their ships began to pulse with dark energy, attempting to synchronize their consciousness-dampening fields into a single, overwhelming force. All dreamers, brace. Sarah commanded. Full immersion. The combined Harbinger field struck Earth's atmosphere like a tidal wave of darkness. For a moment, the dream network flickered. Sarah felt minds wavering, dreams threatening to dissolve into normal sleep. Then something unexpected happened. A dreaming child in Morocco imagined the darkness as a blanket of stars. The image rippled through the network. Suddenly, billions of dreamers weren't fighting the darkness. They were transforming it. The Harbinger field, designed to dampen consciousness, instead became a canvas for human imagination. Dreams painted it with colors that had no names, shapes that couldn't exist in physical space, stories that had never been told. Multiple Harbinger ships losing quantum coherence, Paddle reported, his voice filled with awe. Their consciousness patterns are scattering. Sarah felt it through the network. The Harbingers, faced with the raw chaos of human creativity, were experiencing something like madness. Their rigid, mathematical consciousness couldn't process the fluid nature of human dreams. They're retreating, Elena announced. 15, 20, 30 ships entering hyperspace. On the main display, Sarah watched as the mighty Harbinger fleet fled, leaving their perfect geometric formations shattered. Only one ship remained, its dark hull now streaked with impossible colors from the Dream Network. "Last ship sending a transmission," Paddle said. "It's in precursor quantum language." Through her inherited knowledge, Sarah understood the message. "This species is not a for Titan, the dream capable, are beyond our grasp." As the final Harbinger ship vanished into hyperspace, cheers erupted across the command deck. But Sarah felt something else through the Dream Network, a sense of awakening. Humanity had done more than defend itself. It had discovered a power it never knew it possessed. "Admiral," she said, turning to face the lunar command display. "Request permission to begin Phase 2. Admiral Chen raised an eyebrow. "There's a Phase 2. Sarah nodded, feeling the combined dreams of billions flowing through her consciousness. The Harbingers aren't the only threat out there. The precursors built their warning beacons for a reason. It's time for humanity to take up their mantle, not as they did, but in our own way." She gestured to the Dream Network display, where human consciousness continued to paint impossible patterns across space. "We won't build static structures or perfect geometric patterns. We'll teach other species to dream." 5 years after the Battle of Earth, Sarah stood on the observation deck of the Dreamweaver station, watching as another group of alien visitors entered the teaching chambers. The massive space station, built at the edge of human space, had become a beacon for species seeking protection from the Harbingers. "The Skiffle delegation is ready," Elena reported, approaching with a datapad. After years of working together, the xenoarchaeologist had become Earth's leading expert on teaching dream consciousness to other species. Their neural structure is promising. Like us, they experience something similar to REM sleep. Sarah nodded, watching the insectoid aliens through the observation window. "And the Meridians? Graduated yesterday. They're already establishing their own dream network. Different from ours, their dreams manifest as crystalline patterns, but just as effective against Harbinger fields." The station hummed with the combined consciousness of dozens of species learning to unlock their quantum dreaming potential. Not all could dream exactly as humans did, but each species discovered their own way of generating the chaos patterns that the Harbingers couldn't consume. "Message from the Deep Space Array," Paddle's voice came through the comm. "Another Harbinger fleet detected, but they're giving the Centauri colonies a wide berth. The warning network is working." Sarah smiled. The warning network wasn't anything like the precursor's rigid geometric structures. Instead, humanity had created something new, dream beacons, powered by volunteers who spent their sleep cycles projecting their dreams into space. Any Harbinger ship that encountered these chaotic quantum patterns immediately retreated. "Captain," a young ensign approached, looking nervous. "The Council is ready for your report." Sarah followed the ensign to the station's quantum communication chamber. The faces of Earth's leadership appeared in holographic form around her, along with representatives from 3 other species who had already mastered dream consciousness. "The Dreamweaver initiative continues to exceed expectations," Sarah began. 27 species have now developed their own unique forms of quantum consciousness defense. The Harbingers have been confirmed retreating from 60% of their former hunting grounds. "And the precursor knowledge?" Admiral Chen asked. He had aged in the past 5 years, but his eyes were as sharp as ever. "Integrating it was just the beginning," Sarah replied. "By combining their technical understanding with our natural dream capabilities, we're discovering applications they never imagined. The Meridians, for example, have developed a way to use their crystalline dream patterns for faster-than-light communication." A reptilian council member leaned forward. "What of the prisoner?" Sarah's expression grew serious. During the Battle of Earth, one small Harbinger scout ship had been captured, its crew trapped in a dream field. "We've learned much. The harbingers weren't born as they are. They made themselves that way. In pursuing perfect consciousness, they lost the ability to dream. Now they can only survive by consuming the quantum consciousness of others. A cautionary tale, Elena added, joining Sarah in the chamber. They sought to eliminate chaos from their minds, and in doing so, lost what made consciousness truly alive. Sarah gestured, and a holographic map of the galaxy appeared, showing the spreading network of dream beacons and the steadily retreating harbinger territories. We're not just teaching defense. Each species that learns to access their quantum consciousness discovers something new about themselves. The skillful dreams helped them understand art for the first time. The Meridian's crystal dreams led them to new forms of mathematics. And humans? Admiral Chen asked, what have we learned about ourselves? Sarah thought about the billions of dreamers back on Earth, their sleeping minds now aware that each night they touched something vast and wonderful. We've learned that what we thought were limitations, our chaos, our emotions, our imperfect minds, are actually our greatest strengths. The precursors built monuments of perfect geometry, but we build bridges between consciousness itself. Through the station's windows, Sarah could see a ship approaching, another species coming to learn the art of dreaming. The harbingers had intended to consume all conscious life in the galaxy. Instead, they had inadvertently sparked an awakening. The precursors feared chaos, Sarah concluded. They built their warning beacons to preserve perfect knowledge. But we've proven that true consciousness isn't about perfection. It's about growth, change, and the courage to dream. Humanity's gift to the galaxy isn't just protection from the harbingers. It's the understanding that in our dreams, in our beautiful chaos, we are infinite. As she finished speaking, Sarah felt the familiar touch of billions of dreams brushing against her consciousness, human and alien minds sharing the quantum dream space that had become humanity's greatest legacy. The harbingers had sought to consume the galaxy's consciousness. Instead, they had forced it to evolve. In the depths of space, the dream beacons pulsed with stories and songs and impossible images, a testament to the power of imperfect minds daring to dream of better tomorrows. Humanity had found its place among the stars not through force or perfect technology, but by teaching the galaxy how to dream.